will see a lot of Bitcoin influencers, some very big, but some very small, yelling at people, making fun of people, talking down to people who don't own any Bitcoin yet. And I can just tell you from personal experience, that's exactly the 100% wrong strategy. For those who don't study human psychology like I do, there's 5 categories of people. And when you talk about any subject, there's these 5 categories. There's the mavericks, who are the first in on any new thing. Then there's the early adopters, which that's when it comes to Bitcoin, I consider myself an early adopter. Then there's the late adopters, and then there's just kind of the mainstream people, and then there's the laggards. So I think every maverick now owns some Bitcoin. That's about 5 to 10% of the population. And then the early adopters are about 15% of the population. And the early adopters right now are coming in. They're coming in. You don't have to convince them. And so for all the Bitcoin influencers, being an influencer in diet, nutrition, health, medicine, I can tell you when I started talking about, let's use keto, for example, the ketogenic diet. Stop eating sugar, stop eating grains and beans, stop eating vegetable seed oils, fill your plate with meat, eggs, seafood, and a little bit of veg, a few nuts, a few berries. That's keto, right? Keto is not keto bread and keto cake and keto pie. That's bullshit. That's marketing. That's still fiat food. And see, fiat can be applied, that concept, that paradigm can be applied to food as well. But even back in 2019 and 2020, I was well aware that meat, eggs, and seafood, that is the ultimate human diet. Anything you eat that's not meat, eggs, and seafood, it may not be bad for you, but it's not as optimally good for you as meat, eggs, and seafood. Right, Momo? See what I'm saying? But I knew back in 2019 and 2020, nobody's ready to hear that. Nobody's ready to hear that yet. Right? So there's this concept in linguistics and in oratory and in psychology called Overton's window. So at any given time, when you're talking to a mainstream audience, there are things that are not acceptable to talk about. And if you talk about those things too early, the only people that will hear you are the mavericks and the early adopters. Everybody else will immediately tune you out. And so if back in 2019, I was saying you should eat only meat, the vast majority, 85% of the population would have been, this guy's nuts. What? And so I honored the principle of Overton's window. And so I said, no, eating some meat is good for you. Eating more meat is good for you. You should eat more. You should eat at least some meat for our vegetarians and our vegan brothers and sisters. You got to add some meat, eggs, and seafood to your diet, or you're not going to be healthy. If you're living on a junk food, thoroughly fiat food diet, you're going to get sick and you're going to suffer and die prematurely, right? And so I knew it wasn't time to be talking about a carnivore diet back in 2019. It wasn't time. We hadn't moved the discussion window enough so that the average person could go, carnivore, huh? Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of people doing it, right? So I think that same lesson applies to Bitcoin, because you will see a lot of Bitcoin influencers, some very big, but some very small, yelling at people, making fun of people, talking down to people who don't own any Bitcoin yet. And I can just tell you from personal experience, that's exactly the 100% wrong strategy. You can't make fun of people into understanding something. And definitely you can't make fun of people to make them believe in something, because I'm sorry, but humans are emotional animals. Most of our decisions are based on emotions. Even those of us who think that we're Stoics and think that we're Ayn Rand objectivists, the majority of your decisions are ultimately based largely on how you feel about something. Sorry, that's just how humans work. I hate that. I hate that that's true about me. I hate that that's true about you two guys. But it's true. It's true.
Yes.
And so you have to know that about humans, and you have to honor that about humans, or they're not going to hear you. And because everybody who's a maverick or an early adopter in Bitcoin, you already own some Bitcoin, you're well aware that when the masses start to buy Bitcoin, that's going to be good for you. That's going to make Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin and fiat dollars go up. It's going to make your Bitcoin more valuable. So why are you using this terrible strategy of belittling people and making fun of people and browbeating people if your goal is to make Bitcoin mainstream and make it the uncancelable currency? Why are you using the worst possible strategy to try to get people to open a Strike account or open a Coinbase account, God forbid? Why are you using the worst possible strategy? Stop that. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the Bitcoin movement at all by being an asshole.